Trump was here in the Sunshine State last week, speaking about his newly passed Great American Outdoors Act, signing as well an executive order extending a ban for offshore drilling along Florida's coastline. Tonight, we're breaking down how this could impact us here on the Sun Coast. Joining us, Congressman Greg Steube, representative for Florida's 17th Congressional District, joining us from Washington tonight. Thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So let's talk a little bit about the president signing that order to extend the ban in offshore drilling. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, this is something that Republicans and Democrats in Congress and in the state legislature have tried to get done for years. Former Senator Martinez tried to get it done because the moratorium lifts in a couple of years and everybody's worried that we're going to have drilling off the coast. So for him to extend this moratorium 10 years is a huge win. Every member of the congressional delegation for Florida signed on to this moratorium to ensure that off the coast of Florida, we are not going to have drilling off the coast of Florida. And he extended it not just Florida, but the coastline in Georgia and South Carolina, which is huge to both Georgia and South Carolina as well. But this is a huge environmental win for Floridians and for Florida, a widely supported issue amongst Floridians across party lines. It was great to see that the president would come down and highlight this in Florida this past week.
So I know you joined the president last week in Jupiter when he was there discussing all of this. Also a topic you have a profound interest in as well. What are some of the efforts you've been working on in Congress to support Florida waterways?
Yeah, I represent a district that expands part of Lake Okeechobee. I have all of Lake Okeechobee County, Okeechobee County. I go into the Caloosahatchee, and obviously water quality issues are a huge issue in my district, both on the coastline in South Sarasota and Charlotte counties, but also in the waterways throughout my district. So one of the things that have been concerned of people in my district is this herbicidal spraying on Lake Okeechobee. And one of the alternatives to that is mechanical harvesting of the invasive species that are in Lake Okeechobee. And we were able to ascertain language in the appropriations bill that would allow for funding to go specifically to mechanical harvesting. I've talked to commissioners in Okeechobee County that are very excited about this. There's folks on the coastline that are obviously excited about this because the water from Lake Okeechobee comes out the Caloosahatchee River, and obviously the chemicals that they're spraying can have a harmful effect on the different aquatic life in the lake and obviously affects humans as well. So that's something that is a huge boon for our area. It's been talked about a lot. So very soon we should be able to see organizations and counties and municipal governments drawing down funds from the federal government to purchase mechanical harvesting equipment to mechanically harvest some of that invasive species in Lake Okeechobee.
Interesting. Okay. So going back to the offshore drilling, how will this really help us here in Florida to keep our waterways clean?
So this will completely ban any drilling off the coast in the state of Florida for another 10 years. That ban was set to expire in 2022. So if there was not action by the White House on this, it was going to open up our waters all across the eastern seaboard, the Florida Keys, the Florida coastline, Georgia and South Carolina, to be able to have anyone that puts a permit in, any oil company that puts a permit in, to be able to put an oil rig off our coast. So this is something that's been hugely fought. It's a huge bipartisan victory for the state of Florida, widely supported amongst Floridians. We don't want to see, obviously, oil rigs off the coast of our beaches and the effect that has on tourism. And many of us remember the BP spill and the effect that had on Florida's economy and Florida's tourism. So this is a huge boon for environmental policy in the state of Florida. I'm very happy that the president was willing to support it.
Now, you mentioned this ban. It extends it another 10 years, I believe, to 2032. Is there any effort to just ban this exclusively for its entirety, or until, maybe this comes up again for more than 10 years? Is that something that Congress is looking at?
Yeah, I've joined on to several bills that would do just that. There is a large push among the Florida delegation. Again, this is something that Republicans and Democrats in the congressional delegation are unanimous on and supporting. And so there are ways to do that through Congress. There are bills that would do that. Of course, getting something through the House and the Senate and to the president's desk. And these political times are a little challenging, but that is something that almost every member of Congress in Florida supports. And that's something, when we start the 117th Congress in January, I hope to be a part of and something that we can see done.
So I want to ask you this. The president stating at the event in Jupiter last week that he was the, quote, #1 since Teddy Roosevelt, referring to being an environmentally friendly president. Democrats, of course, have disagreed with that statement, with rival Joe Biden even saying, quote, just months ago, Donald Trump was planning to allow oil and gas drilling off the coast of Florida. Now, with 56 days at that time until the election, he conveniently says he changed his mind. So how do you feel about the president's environmental record so far?
Well, Obama could have done the same thing that President Trump just did, and he didn't in the 8 years that he was president. So if that tells you something about President Trump's effort and focus on environmental issues in Florida, the very first time I had the opportunity to meet President Trump was after I got elected in Lake Okeechobee, viewing the $500 million federal monies that were going to repairs to the Herbert Hoover Dike. So I've never seen a president so involved in environmental policy in the state of Florida and is focused on the things that obviously a lot of Floridians care about as it relates to water quality, and is willing to put the financial muscle of the federal government behind these programs. To get that $500 million for the Herbert Hoover Dike repairs is something that is applauded statewide for the impact that it's going to have on water quality, because it'll allow the lake to hold more water during times like this where we're getting a lot of rain and not have to discharge those waters that sometimes can have algae and cause these algal blooms. So something that the president supports very much. Just look at the records and compare the two. He has a very strong environmental record in the state of Florida.
And some of that money passed under that Great American Outdoors Act, I do believe.
That's correct.
Okay, now you mentioned Lake Okeechobee, a huge issue a few years back between the red tide and the algae blooms. We saw the devastation that left here on the Suncoast and across parts of Florida. Between the sewage spills, the red tide and the algae blooms and climate change, what do you think needs to happen here in Florida on a national, a state, and a local level to make sure that our water quality does not deteriorate moving forward and continues to be in the best shape possible?
Well, it needs to be a focused effort at all levels of government. You can't have, recently we had a sewage spill from a sewage pipe in Lombo Key. That kind of thing cannot happen at the local government level, because it makes the things that we're doing statewide and nationwide pretty mute when millions of gallons of raw sewage are dumped into Sarasota Bay. So it needs to be a collaborated effort between all levels of government focused on these type of issues. When I was in the state Senate, we passed a historic $2 billion bill for Everglades restoration to build storage areas south of Lake Okeechobee so that they don't have to discharge water in these times of high water levels that can cause some of these algal blooms. Those projects have been funded. Those projects are being built as we speak. I had the opportunity to tour those about a year ago, and they should be completed in 2022. 2022 is going to be a tremendous year for water quality in the state of Florida, because a lot of these programs that the Florida Senate and the Florida Legislature, run by Republicans, by the way, funded on these Everglades restoration projects are going to come to completion and start having a real impact on water quality in the state of Florida. And I'm very honored to be a part of all those projects.
All right, Congressman Steube, thanks for joining us tonight, taking time out of your busy day up in Washington. We appreciate it.
Yeah, great to see you. Thank you.